Spending her formative years in Sri Lanka and furthering her education in the UK, she found her calling in England, where she took a stint at writing for a well-known wine magazine. Upon her return to Sri Lanka, she built on that success, helping found and run LBO, one of Sri Lanka's most comprehensive and well-informed business news websites. A self-confessed career girl, she now works as a correspondent for AFP in Colombo. ETV Power Women proudly presents Mel Gunasekara. Hi and welcome to ETV Power Women. Now today you've just seen the introduction to our new guest, Mel Gunasekara. Hi Mel, welcome to the show.
Hello Minori, nice to meet you.
And you. Mel, I'm just going to jump straight into it and ask you how you got into journalism.
It's a bit of a coincidence because I trained in business. I did business studies, I did music, I did accountancy, and taught, did all kinds of...
So a whole spectrum.
Yeah, exactly, did all kinds of management stuff. And then I got a job at a magazine, in a wine magazine.
Okay, and you left that?
Yes, I'm not a wine person.
Okay.
I wanted a job in the sports section, writing on Formula One.
Wow, okay.
So the alternative was there was no vacancies there, but we needed some research work there was, at the time, supermarkets in Britain had just put out their own brands of wines. Right, okay. So so there was a lot of interest to see what the heck they were, whether they were actually the genuine stuff. Okay. Yeah, so they wanted someone who didn't look very obvious to go around. So I kind of fit the bill because my photographer used to drink, so he would go and sample the stuff, and I would sit in a corner and say, tell, how did it go? So that's how journalism basically started off. And I left subsequently when they eventually transferred me out to the sports section because the office was too far away. Okay. And I couldn't be bothered relocating. So that was... that. And then when I came back to Sri Lanka, I applied to Sunday Times. Right. Because I was doing my accountancy exams. And a friend of mine happened to work there, and she said the job is flexible, you know, it's that kind of thing. And they didn't have the research stuff I was interested in, like that wine magazine stuff, but it was something different. Yeah. And I was I got into the business section there. Apparently it's a beat that not many want to cover. They think it's boring. Okay. But yeah, I've had a really great time because I've trekked across Sri Lanka, and thanks to my current job, I hit the front lines. And I've also traveled abroad and covered conferences, the World Bank stuff, IMF, and we also cover Maldives, so I go there.
Because you're part of AFP.
AFP, yeah. Right. So journalism has been an excellent eye-opener, as well as a job in the University of Life. That's it. It's a permanent life learning experience.
Worldwide, Mel, I think it's a very sensitive time for journalists. How do you find that translates to sort of reporting in Sri Lanka?
It's been challenged in the last few years. Yeah. But what I've noticed is that if you get the establishment side of view into the whole thing and be sensitive, perhaps that's what we call self-censorship comes in, and you get all the elements, their voices in, then we can put a story out. But usually if it's a sensitive issue, no one is ever happy with it. Right. And you have people writing to you saying, God, you know, you didn't take this man out, of that person off. You see, you really can't. We're not running a blog. Yeah. If I run a blog of my own, that's a different story. A news story going to a different audience worldwide. And a man in Alaska couldn't care less, little details in Sri Lanka. But a guy in India would be more interested because it's closer to home. So it's to get all these elements into 600 words is the difficult part. But it's been it's also very interesting because if you have difficulties in reporting, it also makes you think differently to get the story out. So our main objective is to make sure the voices we talk to, that their voices are heard outside. and do we have to work around it? And it's a constant laugh with colleagues of mine as to how we got this bit of information out, and you know, it's just it's been very interesting. But it's even nowadays again it's quietened down.
Yeah.
But you can see the tendency to not to go for the kill.
Right.
Is still there.
It's still there. And I mean, how do you find sort of reporting in a sort of peacetime situation as opposed to reporting during conflict? I mean, is there a very marked sort of difference between the two styles that you're sort of looking at now?
Yes, it's mostly economic stuff now,
right.
And we're looking for the quirky bits of Sri Lanka, because international press has only known Sri Lanka for the conflict, for tea and for cricket.
Right, okay, so those are our three.
It's just a bit sad. You know, it's constantly headbanging with someone saying, no, there's more to Sri Lanka than tourism, than beach tourism. We have other things. So this mindset change has not moved there yet.
Right.
But they're still looking for something on sort of slightly post-conflict related stuff.
Yeah.
So there is work there. The problem is access is an issue.
Okay.
And we are still in the early stages of putting plans together. I think perhaps next year we might see action on the ground that is that, you know, we can really push stuff. So at the moment it's all euphoria. Oh, everything's great in Sri Lanka. There's so much of expectations.
Yeah.
But you know, you get, you know, 2 months' time, I will have someone asking, but where has things happened on the ground? Where have the buildings come up, or where have where are these hotels full of tourists coming in? On the paper, every hotel is full for Christmas, for January and February. But you'll see in a few weeks' time people asking, so where are these people in these hotels? Can you get some pictures of them? And then you want to scratch your head and say, oh, they haven't really come yet. But
there's been a lot of flack, I think, again globally, for unethical journalism. I mean, how do you know, what's your take on that? Where, you know, like for example, the Channel 4 story that broke. I mean, you know, there are obviously two sides to every story, but I think globally and you know, not only on reporting on Sri Lanka, but around the world, that, you know, journalists have come under a lot of flack for sort of
doing things.
Unethical sort of.
The paparazzi style.
Yes, I mean, what's your take on that?
Well, I think that it's, you know, it's nice to tell the person, even if you are taping it, look, X to X is on the record. Whatever you say beyond after is not. Or let's go through these quotes that you said. Are you comfortable saying these things? And with people like the Defense Secretary and people, it comes in handy to go back and say, and they feel comfortable.
And then they feel more trusting and more open to kind of talk to you. Which, as you said earlier, you need to maintain
that trust. Building that trust is the huge part of the whole thing, to get people to open up to you, to share their innermost secrets, and that takes a while. And once you get to that level, pushing the extra 10% is a problem. So you have to make sure you don't mess up everything you built up. Because in journalism, we always say you don't kill a source with one story. And that interactivity, this is a small place we work in, and it's better in the long run to have that sense of open communication going on.
Well, don't go anywhere, because we've got more fascinating stuff coming up with Mel. So we will see you after this little break. Hi, and welcome back to ETV Power Women. We're here today with Mel Gunasekara. She's a journalist, and we've been having quite a fascinating conversation so far. So, Mel, again, I meant to ask you this earlier, actually. You know, how do you find being a woman in your profession? Has it been a hindrance or a blessing? Or a mix of both?
A mix of both. When I started off economic reporting here, it was quite a male-dominated field. And I would go for a press conference with my editor, my immediate editor, who was a man. And to ask a question, and they would look at him and answer.
Oh, really?
I found it really annoying, because I'd come back from England and I found it very infuriating. And he said, don't worry, calm down, you know, this is Sri Lanka.
So it's acceptable.
Yes, he was a darling, but the thing is, it's annoying, right? So then gradually, when he moved out, I had to do his areas. Then I found these old fuddy-duddies I used to go and interview.
Yeah.
Used to accept you, but they would first ask you, which school did you go to, how old you are, who are your parents, who are your do you have a family, how far did you study, what was your grading, and this.
So they would basically interview you before you interviewed them, okay?
Yeah. So the older folks were quite a difficult kettle of fish, but the men would try to be funny with you. So they would ask you for your mobile number, and so you by the end of so you learn at a cocktail is purely a half an hour. Hello, hi, do your number, and you're out, right?
Yeah.
I lose visiting cards as soon as I get out of the place. And unknown numbers over the years, now I don't answer unless I am free, yes. Otherwise, my thing is, if they want me, they would call me again, or they would send me a text message. And so that way, you push off unwanted things. And I'll also limit a lot of interviews to by 6:37,
right?
And you're out, because that person inadvertently might also
get the wrong
get the wrong end of the stick. So that's basically how I deal with it now. But it's it's very interesting. I work in sports now.
Okay.
I'm the only woman sometimes in the press box.
Yeah.
I have to fight for a lot of things, and. They question again your background and what do you know the subject really well.
Oh really? So because you're a woman, you may not know anything about sports.
So I say I'm here to learn from all of you to make them feel comfortable, because men feel insecure,
right?
For some reason, and even women feel insecure. So you have to balance the two. I can't afford to get angry with them.
Yeah.
So I just work around
kind of find a happy place. Do you have a sort of philosophy or a motto maybe that you kind of live by? You know, something that really embodies you or your spirit? Anything?
I take life with a pinch of salt.
Okay.
And I live for the day, because I've stopped for a long time ago taking life seriously. It's partly, I suppose, work-wise. And I'm a very private person. I switch off from office work. I don't like the intrusion that comes home. So because I had to be fair by my family, who's also very quiet. They're very quiet people. Yeah. So because of that, as I told you, I take life with a pinch of salt. Half these events in 5 seconds, no one knows you afterwards. Yeah. No one remembers. How many stories you broke or great things in life you spoke about, but you know, it means nothing. At the end of the day, it's how you treat people, and how you make the best out of a relationship, or you communicate. So I just don't take life very seriously now. It's easier.
Okay, fair enough. What would you say for you? Out of all the sort of things that you've reported on, all the stories you've broke, what would be the most memorable one for you so far in your career to date?
The ones with refugees
are
the horrendous ones with child soldiers. The last time I was in Bavania, it's about 2 months back. I met this woman. The whole lot of people were clutching pictures and trying to say, have you seen my brother, sister, husband, everything. There was one woman clutching a picture saying that was her son, who was about 3 months by that time, who had a gunshot wound, and this horrendous story, how they escaped, how her brother-in-law had the baby, the brother-in-law was kept back at some place, and someone took over the child yes. And going by what she was saying, I didn't think the kid survived. But I didn't have the heart to tell her that. And she kept saying, you're a journalist, you go to visit all the hospitals. Have you seen my child? Now in Lady Ridgeway, all the kids look the same in all these hospitals. And I said, not really, but today I heard that so many kids were placed in an orphan home. And perhaps your child may be lucky. And she said, which one? So then I was getting surrounded and surrounded, and I was looking for my army escort to try to get me out of this thing, because this crowd was surrounding me.
Right.
And then I said, I really don't know where.
Yeah.
And then she said, oh, what do you know? You've never had a child. You don't know what it is to lose a child.
Yeah.
Do you have children? And I said no. So how do you say that you understand my plight?
Yeah.
So that really hit home, because our purpose is also to empathize with our subject, and here I was totally unprepared how to empathize with her. And she kept on crying, and she said, you know, can you help in some way?
Yeah.
So I said, have you contacted these NGOs? And she said, yes. And she shows me letters and books and things. But so her face still haunts me. I still remember she's wearing a blue outdoor dress. Whatever you write is to suit a different audience. You come home and I tell my friends sometimes, and they say, you know, but they're all like that. These awful stuff just
stays with you, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Right, well, we've got to take a little break, Mel, but don't go anywhere, because we're going to be right back after this short break.